Hello and welcome to this interview. Dusty, I'm glad you agreed doing this. We haven't seen each other for a while. Unfortunately, we haven't.
The whole world was shut down. We couldn't get it over to each other.
Right. So I'm happy we can do this interview. And for those who do not know who you are, could you please introduce yourself and your background in the martial arts?
I'm Dustin Seale. I started training martial arts when I was 4 in a little town where I grew up in, Shanahan. It was off and on. Different instructors would come through it, sort of like a park district type program. And so I was there off and on, doing everything from, it was Taekwondo, it was Tang Sudo, it was Hapkido, it was Shorin-ryu, Ishin-ryu. Then at 11, this guy, Mr. Golden, took over the program, and he was steady. Mr. Golden actually had a boxing background, but he was then at that time transitioning from the Okinawan style that he was in and starting to follow George Dillman. And he'd been traveling out to the East Coast to see Dillman, and so at 11 I was introduced to that, and I met Dillman for the first time when I was 12 years old. And from training with George Dillman, then that led to seminars with Wally Jay and Remy Presas. My first seminar with them together was a double impact seminar. I was 14, and then from that it moved on to training with Leo Fong. So those 4 signatures, George Dillman, Wally Jay, Remy Presas, and Leo Fong, have been on all of my Dan certificates forever. And then I carried on through training with Professor Presas in Arnis, worked up to a 3rd degree under him. My buddy Ken Smith and Chuck Goss, they got that diploma signed. It was after Professor had passed. The board got together because Professor had said to promote me. So they had got together and they gave me that certificate after Professor Presas had passed away. You know, Chuck Goss and Ken Smith have been a big influence in that aspect of it. And then training with Leo Fong for years. Leo's, if you don't know these names, you need to Google them, because Leo Fong was a big time boxer and then kung fu practitioner. He worked with Bruce Lee, so him and Bruce Lee were students of each other. So he taught Bruce Lee boxing, Western boxing, and Bruce Lee taught him some more different versions of the kung fu. Same with Professor Jay. Professor Jay taught Bruce Lee grappling and throws and ground techniques. Professor Jay's, if I remember correctly, Professor Jay's judo team all of a sudden went from not winning championships to starting to have several world champions in there. And Bruce Lee found out the transition that Professor Jay had made, and he told Leo Fong, I need to go and train with this guy to see what he's done, how he innovated, how he went from having no champions to having all sorts of champions over there. So, but that's been my training all along, and then I worked up through pressure points, or Kyusho Jitsu has always been the main focus. Well, that and Tuite, the main focus on what we do, because it fits in everybody's style.
Okay, thank you. Very impressive, Dustin. So then you put together the Kyusho Combatives Program. So when and why did you put that program together, and what is so special about the program?
Well, the program just developed on its own, more or less. So in my home dojo, Seale Academy, that encompasses the Ryukyu Kempo, Modern Arnis, Small Circle Jiu-Jitsu, and Wei Kune Do from those guys. And it encompasses a wider range of things. And let me put this caveat in there, like, I'm not a black belt in Small Circle Jiu-Jitsu, but Professor Jay gave me the approval years ago to teach the principles of Small Circle and inside my own personal patch, the circle, the arrows around, that came from Professor Jay's patch too, to represent the small circle. Actually, Mark Klein designed my home dojo patch, the Seale Academy patch. He designed it on a drive from his house to the Tropicana in New Jersey, where we were doing Dillman was doing a showcase out there. It was actually cool. He designed it on his laptop in the in the car on the drive out there. Yeah. So the program just developed on its own, and the Kyusho Combatives Program is more of the heart and the straight self-defense aspect of my home dojo program. Later on in the Kyusho Combatives Program, you start getting to the other parts of that, where we start learning more about meditation and more about healing and more about moving your energy and to become full circle, so it's full Buddha. But the Kyusho Combatives Program is designed, it's the quick, no-nonsense self-defense portions of it that I've got from all of my years in the martial arts. So I'm going on now, next May starts my 47th year in the martial arts, 47th year. Then I joined the United States Marine Corps at age 17. Shortly after turning 18, I went to war. I was in Desert Storm. Drove a tank, or was on a tank, so got combat action ribbon, combat veteran from the Marine Corps, and then I've been a police officer for the last 18 years. So the things that I teach in my program are things that I have done, or I have taught people and they have done in real self-defense situations. Prior to becoming law enforcement, I bounced. You know, I'm only 5'6", so I'm a little guy, and I bounced at a pretty rough club, which the bouncer there taught me a ton of stuff of common sense, like, and actually helped me how to read the crowd and see what was going on, and how to divide the crowd to get an aggressor away or to get the victim away, and that stuff. This guy, his name was John McCormick, big old dude too, and he helped me learn that aspect of it, and that helped me in police work, because you know, when you get in these big fights or bar fights or riots, you got to be able to separate and get people away. All of those little things came into then the Kyusho Combatives Program, because people were developing all these programs, all these Kyusho Jitsu programs were being developed, and with guys that had very little time. It was like the second they went to a couple of seminars and caught a couple of DVDs, and they're like, hey, I'm a pressure point expert now, you know? And pressure points is still one of the biggest controversial topics. People get on YouTube and say it's bullshit and whatever. All the people that say it's bullshit have either never actually trained at a seminar, didn't actually train with Dillman, or they did go to a seminar but didn't quite understand, and then they go home and they try to teach it and it doesn't work, or they saw something on YouTube and then they go try to do it and it doesn't work, you know. It's difficult to work, but that's what the program is for. That program builds that foundation, and it allows us, we start static, then we start slowly moving, and we build it up to where you're doing full-on moving targets. Because it's no different than my SWAT training. SWAT training, you got to sit there and do static drills before you even fire your weapon. You're constantly drawing your weapon and pushing it out, constantly doing that. Doing your movements with the rifle, clearing rooms. Slow and steady, and then you build it up, build it up, build it up, to where then you're doing live fire drills with your team and moving targets and turning and moving and assaulting things. There's no difference in any of the training, and this training is designed the same way. So people make fun of us saying, I'd never just stand there and hit. If I'm taking the first punch, you are going to stand there, because I'm going to hit you. So it's just the idea of how we train and incorporate. But the idea of the program is to make people really good at self-defense much faster and much quicker. Because I think I've figured out a way to train people in half the time or even a third of the time to get as good as I am in that amount of time. And then that just keeps building and building and building.
this is very interesting, Dusty. So maybe could you please explain more about the structure? Who can learn the program? Is it based on a level or a belt structure?
The way I tried to design the program was that anybody from, you know, a soccer mom to a combat veteran could jump in and join the program. You know, it's open to everybody. They have no experience to, you know, I mean, what we've had high-level black belts coming through the seminars, right? The difference is what I look at somebody with no training and somebody with, you know, black belts and other styles. Well, this person with no training, obviously they won't be as proficient. It will take them a little bit longer. The person with black belts in another style, I don't care what style you have a black belt in, if you got a black belt, you earned your black belt in whatever you're in. So I'm looking at this person with the black belt should hopefully be able to pick up on it quicker and move through it a little bit faster. But at some point there's a cap to where now you have to have the time of practice and the time on the mat, you know. But the program is designed where you can jump in at whatever level we're doing. I tried to design it to where you could go in any level. It seems to work a little bit easier, especially for brand new people, if they start at level 1 and they move through. So when I have them level 1, level 2, level 3, it's not necessarily like level 5 is the most advanced and level 1 is the most basic. Somebody could come in and start on level 5. It's just that rotation on, they have to hit all the levels before they're eligible to test for a dan range. But people with martial arts background or military background, they seem to be able to pick up on that portion of it a little bit better. Anybody can walk in because it's designed on just sheer proper body mechanics, and it's designed on how your body and mind naturally work and naturally respond to stress or to fear or to being attacked. And like I work off of the individual's response. So if I do a startle response to somebody and they flinch and move like this, I don't ever try to change this at the beginning. I allow them to do this, and then we work from that to transitioning into an attack. Because if I try to reprogram them, there will be a gap. So I work off of the way that the brain and the person's body is already wired. And that seems to allow people to pick up much faster, have a much higher degree of success, and to be able to defend themselves much faster. There's a lot of good programs out there, a lot of good things, but it's this one it's designed. If I'm teaching something in a seminar or on this program that I'm working out or playing with, or haven't done it for real in an arrest situation or in a fight or whatever, I tell everybody, this is a seminar technique. But most of the techniques that are in this program are techniques that I have done or my guys have done in a real situation. Because when I tell people they're under arrest, nobody wants the handcuffs put on them, right? But some people just turn around and put their hands behind their back. A lot of the other ones want to fight, but they always get handcuffs put on them at the end of the day.